Hello, hello. Is this working? Is this thing on? Is this thing on? Let me announce the start of the live stream on twitter.com. Excellent. Well, hello, everybody. This is Brian Thompson, investigative journalist, live at the beautiful Pizza Please Studios office in Library Tower, sometimes called US Bank Tower, in downtown Los Angeles. Tonight, I'm going to be live building this off-brand Lego set, which clearly is supposed to be a McDonald's, although the name McDonald's appears nowhere on the set. If you look very closely at the golden arches like M, see if I can get this to focus. Oh, focus, the YouTuber's enemy. Well, you can't really see it very well, but it does say, instead of McDonald's, it says happy every day. So I suppose in the universe of Sembo Block, instead of McDonald's, they have a restaurant chain called Happy Every Day. But as you can see, it's very similar to the McDonald's we know in our own Prime universe. The M, as I said, resembles a golden arch. This sinister clown resembles the sinister clown Ronald McDonald. This is a child. It's a type of person you'll see frequenting a McDonald's in our world. And of course, an employee who makes the magic happen. Sembo is a company whose origins I know very little about. I just know that they sell Lego-compatible building block toys that are not officially licensed and are also much, much more inexpensive than an official typical Lego set. As you can see, or maybe you can't, the slogan for the Sembo Block Company is facilitate communication between children and parents. And hopefully some of you at home will be doing that. I do not have any children or parents here in the room with me right now. But if your children are watching, and I encourage you to force them to, hopefully this will facilitate some communication. Speaking of communication, the chat is open. I will be answering any questions that you have, any cues that you may pose in the chat. Of course, at my own discretion. Please refrain from any sort of profanity or double or even triple entendres. Someone in the chat says, I am a child of two parents. Well, perhaps you could call them on the phone or maybe start a Skype conference or something like that and have them watch along with you. That would facilitate some communication. Unless you've cut them out of your life for whatever reason, which is none of my business and also something I respect. So continuing with some information about this set, it is for ages 6 to 12. It's just a recommendation, actually. It is set number 601021, and it contains 274 plus pieces. Difficulty index is 3 circles. I don't know out of how many circles. Hopefully it won't be too difficult. I will say that I'm familiar with official Lego products, and those are often bagged in such a way, the pieces are bagged in such a way that the bags are numbered, so you know pretty much exactly where to find the pieces that you're looking for. This set was not bagged in that way, so I did take it upon myself beforehand to organize some of the pieces in sequential bags to speed up the process a little bit. I'm sure you don't have all night. This is a school night after all. What is the level of Christ glorification, Jen asks. Well, we'll see. We'll see when we finish. Hopefully it glorifies Christ. I don't believe it glorifies Satan, although there are some red pieces, which, as we all know, is the color of Satan. So some people call him Satan. He's a devil, actually, often called the devil. And in some works of literature, he even has other names, too, such as the Crimson King. So anyway, on the back of the instruction manual, you'll see that this set is part of a series of sets of off-brand buildings. There's the off-brand McDonald's and off-brand 7-Eleven. This is 7/11. This is a coffee shop that very much resembles a Starbucks, an Apple Store, a KEC rather than a KFC instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Perhaps it's Kentucky Electrified Chicken. I don't know. It's a horrifying image, though. There is a ramen noodle restaurant, no brand that I recognize, or off-brand for that matter. And then there's this building, which I'm not really sure what this is. It has crossed champagne bottles on top, or perhaps wine bottles. And it's difficult to see with the blurred image here, but this is a woman wearing lingerie. So perhaps this is a house of ill repute. I do not know. But I will not be purchasing it. I'm not interested in any of these actually, except for this one. Before I continue, though, I would like to show you where I purchased this set from. A store on the Electronic Bay. This is a seller on the Electronic Bay. General Gyms, Toys and Bricks. warbrick4u.com. I wasn't paid anything to advertise. I just thought it was very nice that the purchase included this burlap sack for my sundries. It says warbrick4u.com. I am a pacifist. If this website promotes war, that is not my responsibility. Okay, let's take a look at the chat before we begin the construction. My mother and I are far from estranged. I will arrange a Google Hangout right now. Oh, that's wonderful. It's always good to Google Hangout with your mother. I'm a huge fan, and I've ordered a t-shirt from your attractive t-shirt store. Oh, thank you very much. I hope it meets with your standard of attractiveness. A cue. My cue for you to what would you attribute the majority of your listeners/viewers from finding your podcast/IJ? What would you attribute? For example, I found your podcast/IJP from a Spotify recommendation. Someone else says, Abby says, I found it from a tweet saying, I can't believe this guy has been doing this for 150 episodes. Well, I can't say for sure exactly how people find the podcast and /IJP. It began as a podcast, it surpassed podcast quality and became an IJP. Due to a series of circumstances, I've begun calling it a podcast again. It's really not worth going into right now. But as far as how people come to find the podcast, I'm not really sure. But I know that the New York Times wrote about it, an article that I do have some problems with, filled with quite a few inaccuracies. That was late last year. But I know the New York Times is just a local newspaper for the city of New York. So I don't know how many people actually saw that. And for the most part, I believe it's mostly just the incarcerated who talk about it via word of mouth, which is one of the few ways they are allowed to communicate by the state. If you are incarcerated right now, thank you for watching /listening. I hope everything works out in your favor eventually. All right, so let's get started with this build. So according to the instructions, first thing is to build the Minifigs, short for miniature figures. And I have already put the pieces in this sack right here. So let's begin. The first miniature figure it asks me to build is the employee for the establishment. So here's his torso and head. Again, the golden arches on his chest, not much detail on the back. Here's his pubis. I'll attach his left leg and his right leg. Oh, I'm seeing people have quite a few different answers to this question of how they found the podcast /IJP, or Reddit thread. I don't know what that is, but hopefully it's a nice community. Q, are you going to be doing any more? Oh, thank you, Charles. Actually, that is a good idea. You prefaced your Q with Q2A colon. That makes it stick out in the chat. That's nice to see. Thank you for doing that. Are you going to be doing any more live episodes from music festivals? Well, I would love to. A while back, I did perform an original composition called Night Pizza in the course of emceeing a sort of experimental music stage at a festival in North Carolina. I was very happy to do so. It was a wonderful experience, although it was a little bit nerve-wracking because I was performing shortly after a singer-songwriter by the name of Jenny Lewis, who was quite an attraction in and of herself. And so people really had to make a choice whether they were going to go see Jenny Lewis or go see Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's, and several rather avant-garde bands in between. And given the choice between someone who's really an accomplished singer-songwriter in her own regard, a solo artist with many hits, many wonderful albums, and that's in addition to her long career with another band called, I believe it's called Relo Keeley. It was a tough choice between that and me, an IJPer at the time, performing live on stage an original composition, along with a band whose name I do not remember, but consisted of one man hiding behind a drum kit. And in the course of his entire 30-minute set, I wasn't sure that it had actually even begun. But it was a wonderful experience, and I would love to try it again someday. Okay, so we have our employee all finished. I don't know what to name him. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave those in the chat. Next, it calls for the construction of our Ronald McDonald analog. And he definitely has much more stylized, I guess stylized is the word, hair than the Ronald McDonald in the Prime universe. Very swoopy, very sweepy, very spiky, whereas our Ronald McDonald has more of a, I think it sort of alternates between a very sort of curly poof of hair and sort of an 80s style hair helmet. But this is interesting. Well, maybe this is Ronald McDonald from some other kind of land, some other kind of culture. As you can see, he does also sport the fake golden arches. And if I can just look carefully here, yes, it does not say McDonald's. It says Happy Every Day. So I guess the name of the establishment we're dealing with here is not McDonald's. It is Happy Every Day. See if we have any more questions. When will you expect to find out what happened to pizza at McDonald's? Hopefully before my death, either by natural or unnatural causes. You performed before my friend's band, Nest Egg. That is correct. Nest Egg actually is the band that invited me to perform at the festival. And like I said, I'm very grateful. My friend Harvey Leisure from the band Nest Egg was gracious enough to extend that invitation. And I was paid for the performance. I am not prepared to say how much I was paid for it. It was a fair amount. But I will say that when I went to go pick up my check, they actually gave me 2 checks. And instead of keeping them both for myself, I gave one back because I wasn't not entitled to it. I'm a very good person, and that's proof. Okay, so we're finished with our Ronald McDonald analog. I'll put him over here. The camera's at kind of a strange angle right now, so forgive me. And now we shall construct the child. Very well-dressed child, a precocious child, perhaps one who's involved in many extracurricular activities, extrovert, outgoing, perhaps a narcissist, borderline personality disorder, someone who would be very popular on the internet, I would imagine. You can tell he's a child because he has short legs that do not move back and forth, much like most children. I think it's because of all the sugar they drink. Their legs They freeze up. They have trouble moving their joints, walk with sort of a robotic gait. I believe it's called Silence disease. How many drink tickets would you be willing to perform for if money was in short supply? Well, please do not tell this to the people who aren't popped up. Please do not tell this to the people who are in charge of paying money. But when it comes to performing my original music, I would do so for free. But I don't actually partake in alcoholic beverages very often, if at all. I value my senses. I never want to dull them. In my line of work, there are dangers around every corner. And by dangers, I mean assassins. And so I try not to put myself in a position where I'm not at the top of my game, so to speak, vis-a-vis my awareness of my surroundings. This is also why I rarely blink. So this child is holding what appears to be an ice cream cone with some sort of pink ice cream. I do not believe that you can purchase pink ice cream at McDonald's, at least none that I know of in our Prime universe. Or maybe it's been colored. Maybe this child suffers from some sort of gum disease, and as he was licking the ice cream, he bled into the white soft serve and created a pink color. I don't know. Perhaps that could be a part of our head canon. See if there are any more questions here. I saw a photo of you wearing some VFA merchandise. Are you a fan of Greg Turkington? I don't know if I would say I'm a fan of Greg Turkington. I definitely appreciate what Mr. Turkington is trying to do vis-a-vis film preservation. I think every day someone forgets about a popcorn classic, and I think that's tragic. And I also think it's tragic that certain people make it so difficult for Mr. Turkington to do his work. Certain rageaholics create quite a problem for him. And for that, he has my sympathy. Okay, so we're done with our 3 figurines, our miniatures for this set. I don't know if anyone suggested a name for them, perhaps further back in the chat, but we have our Ronald McDonald, our employee of the McDonald's, and a child, unaccompanied minor customer. A little bit disturbing. I hope he can find his parents. As someone who was abandoned at a McDonald's as a young child, I believe perhaps this child and I have a lot in common. So moving on to the main build. Like I said, I have organized the pieces in sequential bags. There isn't too much of an organizational structure here, except that I know that these are the first pieces that are going to be used, consisting of what I assume will be the first floor of the McDonald's. May one of them be named Aleister Crowley? Sure. Between the child, I believe that the Ronald character would be the type of creature that Aleister Crowley would summon. And so I guess by that philosophy, then the employee would be Aleister Crowley. I think the McDonald's employees are the ones that summon the actors who portray Ronald to the restaurant for whatever special occasions, parties, ribbon cutting ceremonies, things like that. So this will be Aleister Crowley. We'll call this clown Ronald right now. I don't know if we can say McDonald for copyright reasons, but assuming his last name is the same name as the restaurant, like in our Prime universe, then this would be Ronald Happy Every Day. Ronald Happy Every Day. Okay, so first piece is this black floor. And we will start to tile it. And again, pardon me if the camera angle isn't ideal. This is my first live stream, and I purchased a modern camera just for the occasion. Oh, I saw somebody mention that they heard about my program from someone named Justin McElroy. I am familiar with that person. I believe he is part of a podcast called, I don't remember the name exactly, my brother, and someone else. But that's nice to hear. I'm glad the word is getting out. Oh, it appears we are, yes, we are in the process of building an M, a golden M on the floor. That's very nice, a nice architectural detail. One of the many benefits of living in the city of Los Angeles is the interesting architecture. Um, in my neighborhood, there's a very famous building that is in the what they call the Mayan Revival style. It is on Franklin Avenue, and it's just incredibly gorgeous. Um, you may recognize it. I forget the actual technical name for it, but you may recognize it if you had seen it. But there was a season of Project Runway where they used the house as the dormitory for the contestants. And many say it was the site where the Black Dahlia was actually murdered before her body was moved by the killer. It's a gorgeous place. I really encourage you to visit whenever you can. So we're going to be placing quite a few tiles here. Gray L-shaped tiles. I understand that there are several adult Lego aficionados, especially on YouTube. And because of that, I'm sure that there are official Lego specific names for all of these various pieces. I say a gray L-shaped tile, and perhaps someone who knows a lot about Lego would be laughing in my face if they were here, just very rudely flinging spittle with every chortle at how stupid I sound for saying gray L-shaped piece. Perhaps they would say, "You're so stupid, you idiot. That is not what these pieces are called, you stupid idiot," etc., etc. Forgive me, I'm not a Lego aficionado, I'm just an amateur. Checking the chat here. Recently, I asked Bob Langert, a former McDonald's executive and author, whatever happened to pizza at McDonald's. He claimed the pizza didn't sell well was the main reason. What do you think about this? Well, I believe I've proven this not to be true. I mean, I can't speak for every single market where pizza was sold, but I did visit Pomeroy, Ohio, the last place to sell original recipe McDonald's pizza, and he told me it was their #1 seller. So I guess, not to besmirch the character of the person you spoke with, Bob Langert, but he appears to be a liar. Okay, so this piece is going to be our first application of a sticker. According to the instructions, I must apply this sticker that says burger time, food and drinks, only $2. And we'll see when it's on the black surface, but this may prove to be a bit tricky. Stickers sometimes do not stick as well as you would like them to. Of course, that does not apply to the beautiful stickers you can purchase in my TeePublic store. Those are well known to be high quality in every way. Or your money back, maybe? Check the terms before you purchase. Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, there's a bit of fuzz. That's going to bother me for the rest of my life. Here we go. This is Must be signage inside the store. Special offers, burger time, food and drinks. I don't know if you can tell, but those are 2 spatulas on either side of food and drinks. Only $2. It's a pretty good deal. Soda, French fries, and a hamburger for $2. Can't be very high quality ingredients. Oh, there's a piece that goes under this. I see. Apologies also if you've tuned into this thinking that this is going to be some kind of an ASMR video. I have attempted to do ASMR videos in the past, but every time I try, I put myself to sleep, which is not very safe. There's a lot of electrical equipment in this room, and if I fall just the right way or the wrong way, depending on how you see it, I will pass. How did it taste? They grew up in Southern Ontario. Pizza, McDonald's. Southern, you say, oh, Cody McEwen says that they grew up in Southern Ontario and remember pizza at McDonald's. Yes, this is the focus, the latest focus of my investigation is the province of Ontario, specifically in the nation of Canada in general. It's becoming quite clear to me that there is a lot of McDonald's pizza information and enthusiasm in the nation of Canada and the province of Ontario in particular. That is something I'm exploring. I don't want to go to any further detail about it right now, but do not be surprised if you hear more about that in the very near future. How does that rank against infamous murder den, the Pomeroy Hotel, though? Oh, well, it's interesting you should speak of the Pomeroy Hotel. I just received notice that the single motel in Pomeroy, which longtime listeners may remember, I tried to book a room and they were willing to accommodate my security needs, but then I found that the motel was the site, it was called the Meigs Motel. It was the site of a brutal M word, is what I like to say, just to be on the safe side. There might be children listening. M word, brutal M word. Now, the manager of the motel told me that that was under previous ownership. They had since upgraded the security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The person who died was not a normal person, was just a common pedophile, so it didn't really matter. I still decided not to stay in that motel. But very recently, as of just several hours ago, I received word that that motel has just either burned down completely or one of the rooms has burned down. I will be getting to the bottom of that, rest assured. So we have our next sticker app. Oh, someone asks on following instructions. I am following these instructions right here. I'm not freestyling. So this is a red wall piece. It says to apply this sticker that advertises what this restaurant sells, which is, of course, fast food. And hopefully I can do this straight. Oh no, that is too far. I have to be very careful, concentrate very carefully. This is quality control is a little bit lacking here. As you can see, this sticker appears to be slightly wider than the piece that it is supposed to be applied to. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a bit of clear plastic around all the edges. I guess I'll try to line. Oh no. Now it's trying to rip in half. You know what? I will just tuck the edges around the sides, and hopefully no one will ask any questions. Very few people actually come into this office anyway, except housekeeping. And so far they have been pretty good about knowing what is trash and what is not. I'm a bit afraid if they see this misaligned sticker, they will think that this is garbage and throw it away immediately. But maybe this piece will be covered up by something else further along in the build. So, perhaps it'll be covered up immediately. It goes against this black wall. Okay. Okay. You can barely see my hideous mistake. Wonderful. Now to continue with the build. The Pomeroy, Ohio location no longer sells pizza. Do you think this is a cover-up for McDonald's because you exposed their lies about the pizza not selling well? Well, I do think it is not a coincidence that they were forced by McDonald's corporate to stop selling pizza after many years of successfully petitioning for its continued sale very shortly after my visit. You know what they say about coincidences? They make a donkey out of you and me. And for that reason, I do not believe in them, as I am not a donkey. So I cannot say for certain, but I believe that is very likely the case. It has something to do with my visit and the attention, perhaps the embarrassment that it brought upon McDonald's corporate, that so many people, millions and millions of listeners to my program were made aware that there is, in fact, a location that is serving pizza no problem and having great success with it. And, they saw that as a threat, obviously. Why have you decided to branch into video? Do you feel now was the right time? Well, this is a very interesting question. I was made aware of the fact that there are many people who only consume their media on YouTube. They do not watch motion pictures in a movie theater. They rarely watch television. They do not listen to podcasts. They obviously do not read books. And they spend all of their time on YouTube watching various genres of video, mukbangs, thirst traps, drama reactions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I thought this was an audience I could potentially reach out to. I figured out a way to make a video version of my program in such a fashion that it does not differ from the audio version of the program. So the people who have been listening to my program over the years will not feel left out by this new video version of the show. But it does not seem to be taking off, metaphorically speaking. Literally speaking, it appears to be a massive failure as of right now. Now, they do say that sometimes it takes a while for success to be achieved on YouTube. We will see what happens. I definitely paid quite a bit of money to lease Pizza Please Studios specifically for the purpose of my YouTube channel. And that was, I don't know if I can, it's perhaps a bit too early to call it a huge life-altering, life-destroying mistake. But we will see. We will see. They say it takes some time to build an audience on YouTube. I'm hoping that I will build one. But to answer your question, it is to pursue perhaps a new audience that might be receptive to my educational message about McDonald's pizza. I should not have put this piece. This is a cash register, and I will have to apply a sticker first. Cash register screen, which it appears to show a hamburger for $3, French fries for $2, a soft drink for $1. That's 3 plus 2 is 5 plus 1 would be $6 if you bought all of these things separately. So this advertisement for the special burger time, only $2. That's $4 off. That's a very, very good deal, a suspiciously good deal. But it is not my place to question. It is my place to build. And I will continue doing so. Hopefully this sticker will be less of a disaster than the last one. Yes, similar problem. The clear portion of the sticker is too big to fit exactly where it's supposed to go and has to be bent around the edges of the piece. I do not know if this is a problem that official Lego products have. I would certainly hope not, considering how much they cost. It's a bit irritating in regards to the Sembo block, but I guess you get what you pay for. Okay, so we have our cash register area. We have one wall of the McDonald's. We have some beautiful tile work around the edges. This is coming together nicely, I think. How long does it take for them to make the pizza in the commissary? What is an acceptable wait time for a pizza in the Supreme Court? Well, if you want to know about pizza in the Supreme Court, then I suggest you listen to a previous episode where I dealt with the pizza in the Supreme Court commissary. I will say that there is a cafe, convenience store, restaurant type establishment in the lobby of the building currently housing Pizza Please Studios, and they do in fact serve pizza. I do plan in the near future to investigate their pizza, compare it to some other pizza that I have found in the immediate vicinity of Pizza Please Studios. There's an underground mall about 1 block away called 505 Flower that has a pizza establishment in it called Slice that looks like a very, for lack of a better word, fancy square-shaped pieces of pizza. I'm very interested in that. I am also interested because that underground mall is quite old. It was built in the 1960s by an oil company and has since been all but abandoned. There are just a few establishments in it. Many of the storefronts are empty. It really is the proverbial blast from the past when you go down there. And I just recently learned that it housed a McDonald's until quite recently, just a few years ago. So I need to figure out which of these storefronts was the McDonald's, if there's an establishment there now, ask if I can have access to all of their equipment, run fingerprint samples on all of the surfaces, my normal course of investigation to see if I can find any evidence of McDonald's pizza. We've completed the first bag of pieces, so on to bag number 2. I have to be very careful that these do not roll off of the desk. Some of these are quite round. Okay. Checking the chat. Not a sound business. Would you compromise with McDonald's if they wanted to revive the McPizza instead of the McDonald's pizza? That's a very good question. If by McPizza you mean the Hot Pocket-like pizza-filled pastry, I would say no, because the Hot Pocket brand does make a pizza-flavored variety, and why reinvent the wheel? But if you were talking about the small oval McPizzas that came in a sleeve, I have to admit I would be interested to try them. Would it be the same? No. Would I cease my investigation? No. Would I stop accusing McDonald's of secrecy, obfuscation, borderline criminal activity regarding their conduct surrounding the pizza program? No. But would I try this McPizza? Sure, I would give it a shot. I used to work at a customer service phone line, and I would always hope that one day you would call so I could try my best to assist you in your investigation. Oh, well, thank you very much, Steve H. That is actually very interesting you should say that. Most of the time when I call places, surprisingly, people do not know who I am. With one exception, I do believe, and I do not know if I should say this out loud, but since this is a live stream, who knows how long this video will be. If anybody is looking for this information, it would probably take a fair bit of metaphorical digging. I will say that I did one time call a place in my course of my investigation, and the person on the line did know who I was. And that place was a pharmaceutical company you may have heard of called Moderna. Okay, so let's continue with this build. I do know, this appears to be some kind of a coffee machine. espresso machine, Mook Cafe, perhaps. Very interesting. Let's see here. As these appear to be spouts of some sort. Oh, this does not go. This does not go here. This does not go like this. This piece I put on by mistake. This handle, there should be a handle that goes like such. And then another nozzle with another handle-like object coming off of it, or spout, it appears to be. And then these go like, yes, this is definitely an espresso machine. And it will go above the coffee cup appropriately. Wonderful. And next, I do not know what this is going to be, but it says to put, oh, this is just more decoration for the espresso machine, a green light, a yellow light, and some sort of signage. It's supposed to go a sticker, oh, another dreaded sticker going on this black tile. Sticker number 7, it says, but these stickers are in no way numbered. Not numbered in the least. Oh, but I can see in the instructions, you can barely make out. I believe this is supposed to be the Coca-Cola looking logo here. But again, this is not Coca-Cola. It says Coca-Cold. Coca-Cold goes on the signage above the, what I thought was an espresso machine, but now I assume is a soft drink dispenser. Does not make much sense considering the handles and the spouts, etc. But I will not question it. Perhaps it is a rare machine that dispenses both Coca-Cold and espresso. And again, the sticker is much too large. Here we are. Our finished drink machine. Coca-Cold. I do not know what you would put in here. Coffee grounds for your Coca-Cold. Spout for water or steaming your milk for your Coca-Cold. Lights to indicate, perhaps this light is to indicate that this is now dispensing espresso, and this light is to indicate that it is now dispensing Coca-Cold. I do not know. This is abstracted. And we also have something that goes here. Let's move this handle out of the way. Or perhaps it should, oh no. Oh no. Perhaps I should move the handle toward the person working behind the counter. That would make sense. And then this red cylinder goes here with a white nozzle on top. This appears to be a ketchup dispensing bottle for your ketchup. That goes here. It came at the behest of the demon Baal. Oh, I hope you have great success in your demon summoning. I had not much success, actually. How do you create your alter egos? Well, that is an interesting question, and I do not want to go into too much detail about it, but I am a master of disguise, as you no doubt know. And this is not a skill that comes easily or readily to most people. It requires intense training. I went to a school called the New School. I had an instructor by the name of James Lipton. And He was a wonderful, wonderful man. Asked a lot, too many questions, actually. He was very curious. It got slightly irritating, to tell you the truth, but overall, very wonderful and a master uh, of assuming different identities. And so I've constructed this little hamburger. This hamburger goes on the counter next to the ketchup dispenser, ready to be sold. Perhaps, hopefully, it hasn't been sitting there for too long before a customer purchases it, or perhaps a customer just purchased it and this is out ready to go. They purchased a hamburger and one bottle of ketchup to, I guess, apply to the hamburger. I don't really know, but that's where the hamburger goes according to the instructions. We have another sticker. This piece goes on top of the cash register, and it's supposed to show how much this order cost. $12.30. Considering the deal they have going on, $2 for a hamburger, a soft drink, and French fries. This is quite expensive. $12.30. I could purchase 5 or 6 such combinations. Oh, maybe this customer is purchasing for a group, perhaps for the office, or perhaps they are drowning their sorrows in food. All too common. Next up, we have a door to construct. Should be simple enough. This is the door frame, and this is the door. It goes inside the frame, clicks into place, and now we have a fully functioning clear door. And to finish it off, a knob. Door and knob. Very nice. And this goes right here. And now our McDonald's has an entrance. Are you concerned about potential bad acting on the part of one Monroe Boswell in regards to your new rental agreement? No, I believe Mr. Boswell is in the custody of Interpol right now. Every now and then I receive correspondence from someone claiming to be him or claiming to be a member of his family. I do not know who to trust, actually, in the matter, to be perfectly honest with you. But suffice it to say, I believe he is in the custody of Interpol, and considering his crimes were committed during the height, most of his crimes anyway, were committed during the height of what the United States called the War on Terror. I believe he is subject to laws that were passed under that time, or during that time. So as far as I'm concerned, he has been redented to a CIA black site, and hopefully that will be the last we ever hear of him. So, moving on. Now to construct the back wall of the McDonald's in red, the devil's color. I will say that as a pacifist, I generally do not believe in corporal punishment, capital punishment, or even really punishment in general for that matter. But when it comes to someone as dastardly as Monroe Boswell, frankly, no punishment is harsh enough. And it wasn't just me that there's a yellow piece that goes under this. This must be the drive-through window, although this is clearly a paved walkway. I don't believe you would be allowed to drive a car here. It's so close to the door, that would be very dangerous, but it's a walk-up window. But anyway, I was saying that I do not believe Mr. Boswell's crimes were just affected me. They affected quite a few people. Longtime listeners probably remember that my first encounter with Mr. Boswell since starting this program was when he convinced me that he was the CEO of a defunct podcast network called Panoply. He represented himself as one Mark Panoply, and he invited me to host my show on his podcast network, which at the time was actually impressive. If you remember, Panoply actually existed and was, well regarded. That was quite a coup to have your show on the Panoply network. Of course, that turned out not to be true. I was sent a cease and desist letter by the real Panoply network, and I do not believe it is a coincidence that very shortly afterward the Panoply network ceased to be. Went completely bankrupt, absolutely failed, huge embarrassment for everyone involved. And if there's anyone to blame, I would say it's Monroe Boswell. So I'm not his only victim. Panoply Network is also counted among those, as far as I'm concerned. As I understand it, the Panoply Network has transitioned into being a different kind of company, some kind of a podcast distribution or hosting service company called Megaphone that now hosts programs by people such as Michael Savage and I believe Ben Shapiro, perhaps Newt Gingrich, just various white supremacists. I have heard a theory that the Retro Gamers was a psychological operation set up by the McDonald's Corporation to thwart your efforts in uncovering the truth. Well, that could very well be the case. I cannot say for certain, although I after getting into a bit of a metaphorical dust-up with the Retro Gamers, I did look into their history, and if the McDonald's Corporation did set this up as a psychological operation to get under my proverbial skin, certainly mission accomplished on their behalf. But if they did do that, then they've had this in the works for quite a while, because as far as I can tell, retro video gamers have pretty much always been, and forgive me for being so harsh, but I do believe it's accurate to say they're the scum of the earth. Do you have any hobbies? Yes, I have several hobbies. Primarily among those is playing board games. I designed the Pizza at McDonald's, Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's, the board game, because I am such an avid board game player, and also because of that, it breaks my heart, metaphorically speaking, even more, to know that game has been taken off the market due to certain, I would argue, and have argued at length to the people involved, specious copyright concerns. But I did recently make a impassioned plea to return the game to sale. I was roundly denied, and I believe my only option now is to redesign some of the artwork from the game and possibly retitle the game something else to remove the McDonald's name, which I may do. I would not do so happily, but if it means the difference between having the game be available and having it not be available in a physical form, that may be something that I would be willing to do. You can play the game on tabletopia.com, though, in a digital form, which is in most ways identical to the physical form, except instead of being physical, it is digital. Do you frequently experience heart palpitations? From Up a Baby. It's rather a personal question. It just depends on how often I'm thinking about McDonald's pizza. H.I. McDonough says, your audio description work for Netflix is masterful. Very well done. Well, thank you very much. Yes, many people are surprised to learn that I have done, I was looking where this piece goes. I missed it. It goes on top of the drink dispenser, sort of a finishing touch. Yes, now it looks finished. So Yes, I do occasionally voice. Oh, I bumped the camera. I do occasionally voice some audio description. For those who do not know, if you use Netflix or use Amazon Prime Video or even watch broadcast television many times, sometimes you can select different audio tracks either on your television or on your um, cable box, on your VCR. Um, you can choose between your native language, the native language of whatever the program was recorded in, and you can also sometimes choose audio description, which is intended for people who are visually impaired, and it is uh, basically it's like an audiobook version of the visual entertainment. There is a narrator who is reading a description of the things that are happening in the program, uh, and this description is placed around the dialogue so that people who cannot see what is happening or have trouble seeing what is happening can enjoy it as much as a sighted audience. And I have been thankful to be employed as a narrator for some of these described programs, including on Netflix, the first season of Criminal Minds, which is a very, very violent program. Thankfully, watching it did provide me with some valuable investigatory training. Um, just like the people on Criminal Minds, I believe I now consider myself an expert psychological profiler, and I also keep what I call a go bag ready at a moment's notice in case I need to be wheels up to chase a suspect, perhaps the person responsible for eliminating pizza from the McDonald's menu. But I've also voiced the audio description narration for several other things, many Disney films. If you subscribe to the Disney Plus service, I narrate a film called Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which is a James Bond movie where James Bond interacts with several leprechauns. I believe they went in a different direction with the franchise, but it was a very, very early James Bond movie. I think perhaps the first. And I also narrated a golf movie starring performance artist Shia LaBeouf. The name escapes me. The Greatest Game Ever Played, or something like that. And I also narrated a sort of it's like an industrial video that teaches about childcare. It's called Mary Poppins. I narrated that, among some other things. So if you want to hear even more of my voice, that is one way to do it. Did you grow up in the California, LA area? Aaron asks. No, in fact, I did not. As longtime listeners probably know. Oh, by the way, I should open the next bag of pieces. We're done with, I believe that was bag number 2. As longtime listeners know, I was abandoned at a McDonald's at a very early age. My parents took me to a McDonald's. My birth parents took me to a McDonald's, made me play in the ball pit, and while I was playing in the ball pit, I did look through the window and see them eating pizza, or at least what I thought was pizza at the time. Turns out it probably was, and that was the last I ever saw of them. They actually left me at that McDonald's. I never saw them again, and I will probably never figure out what happened to them. I don't really care. They're most likely dead in a ditch, but hopefully one day I will find out what happened to McDonald's pizza. But after that experience, I spent some time in the foster program. I was never actually adopted for various reasons. Something about me being extremely special. That's all I was told, is that I was so special that nobody wanted me. And I guess they were just intimidated. I would be too. Think about it, if you were the parent of a child as gifted as me, would you, oh, this is too long. I think I'm supposed to go 6 studs. Yes, that's right. if you were the parent of a child as gifted as me, wouldn't that put a lot of pressure on you to do something better with your life? So I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why I was never uh, adopted. And eventually I just reached the age of maturity uh, at the orphanage and was strongly encouraged to leave. Um, and I jumped at the opportunity, metaphorically speaking. And well, literally speaking too, sort of. I don't, let's just say I left the building at flight. I was airborne when I left the building. So, and you could say that I jumped at the opportunity to leave. And here we are today. Next question. Have your investigations ever led you to the town of Bakersfield, California? Although it has a high population of white supremacist retro gamers, it has a good amount of nice people for the location. It has not. I am very familiar with Bakersfield. I have driven through Bakersfield at a high rate of speed because at the height of the pandemic, they were known to have possibly the most extreme numbers of infections in the entire state of California. But it looked very nice from traveling at over 100 miles per hour down surface streets. I hope to go back. I'm not sure what we're doing here. I guess building the floor for the second floor of this McDonald's. I'm looking for a smaller black. Yes, this is what I'm looking for. A smaller black piece that goes right there. Curved piece along the roof. This is coming together quite nicely and hopefully expeditiously. We've been going for 1 hour and 2 minutes now. As I said, I am no Lego expert, so I do not know if that is above or below average speed, but I'm having a nice time. This is very relaxing, and I was afraid that it would hurt my fingers, but so far so good. I did generously slather them in a natural lubricant before starting this project, and that seems to have helped keep them moisturized. Do you know the origin of the sound effect used to indicate the decision points that appear in your Choose Your Own Investigation, the mysterious pizza? That is a good question. And actually, that brings up a larger point. Many times people ask me questions such as this about music cues and other things that I occasionally use in the course of my program and my investigation. And, oh no, another sticker. This one. The Golden Arches. Happy Every Day, the name of this restaurant, 24 hours open. And this goes on this sign above the drive-through / walk up past window. And once again, this sticker is too large for its intended purpose. But many people ask me about the origins of these various things, and oftentimes I am at a loss to help because a lot of the sound effects that I use and the music that I find has to, for financial reasons, be royalty free. Or the artist in question that actually originally created the piece has to be dead for a certain number of years. And I used to find out who created any sort of piece of audio that I wanted to use, whether it be a sound effect or a piece of music or whatever. And I would try to contact their family members, ask, is so-and-so deceased yet? When do you think they might become deceased? If you had to guesstimate ballpark figure, and you would be surprised, but many times the people I spoke with were actually unwilling to answer my question. And actually, I suspect did not even know the answer to my question, or could not even give me an educated guess as to when these artists were going to be passing away, if they had not passed away already. And every now and then I would get lucky. I would call someone and the artist would already be dead, and I would say, "Oh, wonderful," and I would hang up immediately and use the piece of audio. But most of the time, no, it's somebody who was still alive, and I simply, just for scheduling reasons, I cannot just wait around for all of them to die. So I have to use pieces of audio that come from these public domain libraries, and et cetera, et cetera. They're not very well documented, and often they're found at the last minute, and I do not keep very good records of where they come from. So to answer your question, no, I do not know where that piece of audio came from. So now we are moving on to the second floor proper. We have finished the first floor. This is the finishing touch of the first floor. I believe that these studs along the edges of the roof will allow us to remove the second floor once it is completed. And we have the first floor of our McDonald's. Here's a closer look through the drive-through / walk-up window. We have a working entrance, beautifully tiled exterior. We know exactly what they serve inside fast food. We have no wall in the back, which seems unsafe, but maybe it's actually more safe than having a wall. In case something catches fire, it's very easy to escape. And if this cooking area becomes filled with steam from, let's say, the espresso machine or the Coca-Cola, I don't know, accidentally gets mixed with dry ice or something, then the steam / smoke has a place to escape. So perhaps that's a good thing. Let's see, how should I position this for continued construction? This will do. The New York Times coverage of your investigative efforts surely raised your profile. Has this publicity hindered your ability to remain incognito and to maintain convincing alter egos? Well, like I said earlier, I believe I have only been recognized once on the telephone in the course of my investigation, and the person who recognized me was kind enough to remain cooperative. But we shall see in the future. I am a master of disguise, as you know, in the audio form, but I also am known to be a master of disguise in the visual medium as well. And if necessary, if my voice becomes too recognizable, then I can always just employ my very wide selection of false facial hairs and head hairs and just go places in person and undercover, I mean, and see if I can make any headway in that regard. But so far, it has not been too much of a hindrance. But, as you said, it could become a danger in the future because I am just almost unbelievably popular. Just incredibly well-liked and beloved, and people simply cannot get enough of my program. And of course, I do not blame them. Okay, so I believe this is the floor for the second story. We're beginning on here. And this will come as a bit of a surprise. Looking at the pictures, it appears that unlike a normal McDonald's in our Prime universe, this off-brand Sembo Block McDonald's has a play place on the second floor, which should be interesting. As far as I know, there are no McDonald's that have a play place on the second floor. They're usually outside, well away from the dining area, definitely far enough away that parents eating inside could easily slip out of the building unseen by their child that they've abandoned in the ball pit. Being on the second floor, perhaps it makes it even easier for parents to abandon their children at McDonald's. Maybe that's the reason they do it in this particular establishment. Perhaps this is a seating area here. I'm not sure. This appears to be a slide. Thankfully, the child that came with this set, this little person here, will have something to do while eating his blood-stained ice cream. Is there a way to verify that this video is indeed live? Your ability to answer questions and build Legos at the same time is a little suspect. Forgive my candor. Actually, no, there is no way for me to prove that. Have you ever considered running for a political office? It might aid your efforts in educating the public on the history of McDonald's pizza. I have considered it. Many people were encouraging me to run for president during the last presidential election. I was hesitant to do so for several reasons. One of those was because I did not want to siphon away votes from a candidate who had a better chance of winning and might beat the candidate that I was very much hoping would not win. A candidate by the name, it was a while ago. I do not remember that person's name. David Trask? Donald Twink. And anyway, I did not want to siphon votes away from whatever candidate had the best chance of defeating that particular candidate. I do not like to get political. The people who know me best know that I am not a political person. I am an investigative journalist / educator / activist / musician / artist / board game designer, and I like to keep my focus on those things. But this person what was that person's name? He was president. Danny. I wish I could look this up, but my computer is busy facilitating a live chat. Anyway, this person, whoever he was, he said something about the press being the enemies of the people. And of course, I am the press. And in effect, I felt he was declaring or trying to incite violence really against me personally. So as soon as I am personally affected by something, I suddenly start to care about it. And so I did not want to rock the boat, as it were, politically. But perhaps one day, if I could be assured that I could maintain my job as an investigative journalist and still be an effective public servant and politician, then I would consider it. But offhand, I cannot think of anyone who has been able to be an investigative journalist and a politician at the same time. If you could think of anybody, please let me know. I would love to ask them for some advice on the matter. But it is not a pressing issue. I have plenty to keep me occupied right now, such as building this off-brand Lego McDonald's. Okay, so again, I'm just following the instructions here, and I do not know exactly what I am building, I suppose, until it's already built. Oh, I did this the wrong way. I do know that. Hopefully I can pry these pieces apart. I may have made a huge mistake. I put this black stick in the wrong way. It's supposed to go to the top of these pieces, and it is very difficult to get a grip on it to pull them loose. But by covering my fingertips in the fabric of my shirt, I was able to do it just now. So I'm supposed to put 3 of these brown cylinders on top of each other and then stick this stick through the top like such. And then put another brown cylinder on top, like so, with a cap like this, and then this. Oh, this is a tabletop. This goes right here. This is a little seating area around a table. This is a slide. And then this is supposed to go in the center of the table. And hopefully I can push it down into place. Yes, perfect. Now we have some sort of a pole in the center of this quite whimsical table. And now we build a little bit of a wall around this play area. And we apply yet another dreaded sticker. This one reading Children's Paradise, which one glance at this little area confirms that that is indeed the case. This is, in fact, a children's paradise. I once had a friend a long time ago. He's since passed away, and he was very famous, so I will not reveal his name for privacy reasons, but he once owned this massive compound outside of Los Angeles, but far outside of Los Angeles, actually, but not that far, within driving distance of Los Angeles. And he was struggling with what to name it. And I suggested, coincidentally enough, or perhaps this isn't a coincidence, I suggested he name it Children's Paradise, because there were he had so many rides, and he had arcade games everywhere, and he even had a zoo on site. And for a minute there, I thought he was going to take me up on my suggestion, but then he eventually decided that instead he would name it Neverland Ranch. Let's see what the chat has to say. With businesses reopening and yourself being vaccinated, do you plan to reopen the investigation into your library's lost copy of Willow, or perhaps even Bo Bergdahl? Very good questions. In fact, I am currently in Pizza Please Studios, which is in the Library Tower, downtown Los Angeles, which is named after the main branch of the Los Angeles Public Library, which is just across the street from the tower. And I have yet to visit the main branch of the Los Angeles Public Library. I've been much too busy with my investigation, but it definitely is on my list of things to do, to go across the street and see if they know anything about the missing Willow DVD. Perhaps they have their own copy. At the very least, considering they're the main branch, I would assume that the powers that be, so to speak, in charge of the library system will be headquartered out of that building. And if I can gain an audience with them, I will, of course, tell them of the, I would argue, negligent job that their associates are doing in the Burbank Public Library, which is where the Willow DVD has gone missing. Unfortunately, though, it's less of a pressing issue now, because at the time the Willow DVD had gone out of print, secondhand copies were being sold for quite a bit of money on the Electronic Bay. And so the thief clearly had a motive for stealing the DVD. Now Willow is on Disney Plus, one of the few movies on Disney Plus that I was not asked to narrate. I'll let you decide whether or not that is a coincidence. And so the secondhand value of the DVD has absolutely plummeted. Also, a high definition Blu-ray disc has also been released. So hopefully the thief who stole it from the Burbank Public Library was not able to fence it before the market dropped out of the collectible Willow DVD market. The market dropped out of before the collectible Willow DVDs became less valuable. I can only hope that he waited too long and was thus metaphorically burned in his scheme. But I suppose we may never know. We may never know, and we definitely will never know if the people at the Burbank Public Library do not file a police report. Oh, David Hernandez has to leave. Well, goodbye, David Hernandez. Thank you for all the questions, and thank you for watching. Can we expect new episodes of the Old Rugged Meeple in the future? Yeah, the answer to that is yes, but the Old Rugged Meeple is now a Patreon exclusive program. It has not restarted under the banner of a Patreon exclusive program yet, but it will very soon. It will be a monthly Patreon exclusive program. I forget which donation tier grants access to the Old Rugged Meeple. But you can check patreon.com/pizza at McD's. All the information is there. But yeah, for those who do not know, the Old Rugged Meeple is like I said, I'm a very avid board gamer. The Old Rugged Meeple is a podcast where I review and rate board games based on how much they glorify Christ. You are a wonderful builder. Oh, thank you very much. Well, I am just following instructions, but I assume there was a certain level of skill involved. On to the next page. Oh, did we finish another bag of pieces? It appears that we did. On to the penultimate bag of pieces. These seem to be all black, yellow, and clear. Let's see what. Oh, these appear to be perhaps the walls of the second floor around this beautiful play area, beginning with some clear windows. You do want to be able to see inside. If you are a responsible parent who is not the type of parent who would take their child to McDonald's and then leave them there, never to be seen again, then you definitely want to be able to see your children playing on this play place. Over the years, the equipment on McDonald's playgrounds has undergone many changes. I would say mostly for the better. The old equipment used to be fraught with all manner of dangers. I don't know how many of you might be old enough to remember when there was a Officer Big Mac shaped, just simply a jail. I don't even really understand how it was meant to be, how it was meant to facilitate play, but it was this metal tower that a child would climb up into, and then at the top they were just in jail. They were in jail, incarcerated, and thankfully they got rid of those. It sent a very bad message that, as they say, ACAB, all cops are burgers, and when a cop is a jail, then justice can never be served. And then there was also, of course, the ubiquitous ball pit where I was abandoned. Those do not exist anymore, thankfully, because they were slathered in urine. Children's urine from the people that work at the McDonald's that were meant to be cleaning urine from the balls. But of course, to clean the urine from the balls, you do have to get in the ball pit. And once you're in the ball pit, it's very similar to being in a body of water. And then you start to relax, you lie back, you start to float on the balls, and your mind wanders, and pretty soon your bladder wanders as well. And you end up contributing to the problem more than helping it. I was doing some research about ball pits, both at McDonald's and elsewhere over the years. And I discovered that one common way for people to actually clean the balls in the ball pits, to clean the urine off of the balls in the ball pits, was that they would remove all of the balls from the ball pits and they would put them in the back of a flatbed pickup truck. And then they would drive said pickup truck with the balls in the back through a drive-through car wash. And in the process, the balls would supposedly get clean. But I don't know if you've ever been to a drive-through car wash, but oftentimes there are a few different options that you can choose from. You can choose from just a rinse with water. That's usually the cheapest. You can choose a rinse plus soap, rinse plus soap plus wax. And all of these are good for your car in one way or another, depending on the level of soil on the surface. But as you might notice, not a single one of them mentions urine. So because of that, taking your balls through a drive-through car wash is certainly not adequate to clean them of urine. And so eventually, so many children ended up either passing away or just wishing they passed away from urine sickness that ball pits were voluntarily discontinued. And nowadays, most McDonald's playgrounds have much more safe equipment, such as these rope nets about 30 or 40 or 50 feet off the ground that a child can climb up shoeless and hopefully not fall out of. Now, this is a very tricky section of the model because these French fry-like yellow columns are very easy to push out of place while putting this cross beam on the top. I believe I figured it out. Let's check the chat. So did you ever find out what happened to pizza at McDonald's? No, not yet, but hopefully, like I said earlier, I will do so before I die of either natural or unnatural causes. I think it's a fun coincidence that the play place is also a place where kids play. Oh, wow. Play place. Play, and they play there. I never noticed that before. That's really interesting. That Lego replica hamburger looks suspiciously realistic. Oh, well, send your compliments to the Sembo Block Corporation. I'm sure they would love to hear them. Do I have a favorite Bible verse? Oh, what a wonderful question. I have not quite finished the Bible. I'm on page, what was I on? Page 14. It is quite a dense book. I do hope to finish it eventually. And when I finish it, I will get back to you with my favorite verse. I definitely have some favorites among the ones that I have read so far. One of them, I do not remember it word for word, but it was about, there was a period of time after the Garden of Eden and before Noah's flood, when angels came down to earth and mated with human women. And I just thought that was fascinating, very fascinating. So, but when I finish it, I will let you know. I got a bit sidetracked when I started reading it. I got so excited. It was so good that I immediately put it down and started working on the sequel Bible, the Bible 2. And that is still a work in progress, but I can't name names, but I did speak with a potential publisher for the Bible 2. And one of the first things that they told me was I should probably finish Bible 1 before continuing my work on Bible 2. And I suppose that's fair. Eventually, I hope to. Okay, so these black pieces look very much like the finishing touches from the first floor. So I suppose these are the finishing touches for the second floor. So the second floor play seems fairly complete. Slide. I do not know what this pink ball is, perhaps something to sit on, but I do know what this is. This is an Academy Award. Children love to pretend that they just won an Academy Award, perhaps for Best Actor or Best Slider. Continuing with the bill. Let's see, this piece goes across here. Oh, I have to be careful. Some of these pieces are not particularly well anchored. I'm afraid that if I push too hard on some of them, then the entire thing will collapse. My boyfriend knows nothing about pizza at McDonald's. Please help me teach him. Signed, girlfriend. Well, the best way to teach your boyfriend about McDonald's pizza is to have him listen to my program. A lot of people, they tell me, your program, there are over 200 episodes of it. It seems quite extensive. I do not have very much time. Could you please, 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 please tell me exactly where to start? Where is the best place to start listening for someone without a lot of time? And I always give them the same answer, and that is to start at episode number 1. So just tell your boyfriend to start at episode number 1, and eventually he will catch up, and he will have quite a bit of knowledge about McDonald's pizza. Will he know why McDonald's stopped serving it? No, probably not. Unless it takes him so long to catch up that he eventually gets to an episode where I, in fact, learn why McDonald's stopped serving pizza, in which case, then he will know. But by that point, this is no slight on your relationship or on you as a relationship partner or on him as a relationship partner or anything like that. But just statistically speaking, by that point, he will be long gone. Okay, so this looks to be some sort of an armature, and judging from the photographs of this completed set, I believe this is going to hold perhaps a sign or a giant replica hamburger that exists on the top of the McDonald's. Oh no, this is for the golden arches at the top. Okay, so let's construct the massive golden arches at the top of this faux McDonald's restaurant. Copyright impaired McDonald's restaurant. Something like this. And a capstone. Go on the cap. This is quite flimsy. This is one of the arches. I must build 2 of these according to the instructions. I will comply with that request. Okay. Second arch. So we'll line these up. And this structure, this armature, click them into place. And now we have a set of golden arches, sort of. What's your favorite episode you produced? What was your favorite place you visited in your investigation? Favorite interviewee? Well, the favorite episode that I produced was probably... Well, this is a very good question. Well, favorite in what regard. Was it my favorite to produce? Was it my favorite because I believe it did the most to educate the public about McDonald's pizza? Was it my favorite because I learned the most about McDonald's pizza? I would say so far my favorite, um, and almost all those categories, is my expedition to Alaska. And also, this answers your second question. My favorite place I visited, it was the desolate island of Adak, Alaska. There is nowhere else in the world like the desolate island of Adak, Alaska. In fact, if there were more places like that in the world, then I believe that the worldwide suicide statistics would be quite a bit different. Um, it is the most remote place I've ever been in my life. When you go outside at night, I don't remember if this is something that I spoke of on the episode, but when you go outside at night, you can hear absolutely nothing save for the distant calls of the caribou who have been seeded on the island to attract hunter tourists, um, and also the distant calls of the tourists who have gone in search of the caribou and have gotten lost, either fallen off of a cliff or um, lost their way on a tundra. Um, or sometimes, if you listen very closely, you can hear the distant uh, calls of people who are very frustrated because they cannot find an appropriate implement to commit suicide with. Um, so it's very peaceful. And also, in the course of that show, I was able to actually locate an abandoned McDonald's pizza oven in the town dump. I did not actually lay eyes on it myself. Unfortunately, the person who knew where it was off island, and I had to call him when I got home, and he told me about it and sent me pictures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it proved to be a very fruitful investigation, and eventually I will go back and I will recover it because um, it will still be there. The Arctic climate will perfectly preserve this pizza oven. Um, there is no crime on the island because there's nowhere to run from the police, and there is only one police officer. And like the lives of everyone else there, um, both the criminals and the law enforcement are, it's only a matter of time before they're gone. So as far as anything being disturbed in the meantime, I'm not concerned about that. I will get back, as they say, when I get there. I will get there when I get there. But I do hope to go back fairly soon, as soon as I can get a refill on my antidepressants. Do you remember the one guy that showed up to your live meetup at the library when you tried to give your copy of Willow to your public library? Yes, in fact, I do. Keone was his name. He worked in the area of food science. I believe he developed food flavors or something for the restaurant industry or something like that. Yes, it was for my 100th episode of the podcast. I broadcast it live from the parking lot of the Burbank Public Library at, I believe, 6:30 a.m. on a Tuesday or a Wednesday morning. Strangely, only one person showed up, but he was very nice. His name was Keone. I hope he's still alive. Okay, so we've completed the golden arches at the top of the McDonald's, and now we are on to, now we place this on top of the first floor. Very exciting. And it clicks right into place. So now we have a 2-story McDonald's-like restaurant. So I can get it into frame. Absolutely gorgeous, if I do say so myself. And it is no compliment to me. I did follow the instructions. Not anybody could do that, but I did it. I did that. But they were written by the Sembo Block Corporation, and this set is designed by Sembo Block Corporation. If you would like to purchase one for your own, you could possibly seek out General Jim's Toys and Bricks on the Electronic Bay, like I did, or just travel to China, and they sell these on every street corner. This second floor also does not have a back wall, and I thought it was a safety feature for the first floor, but now I'm second guessing that because if a child were sliding on this slide, they could easily launch over this fence and over the side and eventually hit the ground and fatally fracture their skull and every other part of their body. But now I'm thinking that perhaps we were meant to imagine that there is a wall here, like a dollhouse, and the missing wall is for our benefit so that we can insert our fingers and manipulate the characters inside, the characters and implements inside. An imaginary wall, perhaps? I'm not certain. But I do know one thing for certain. This is a beautiful model. So we're on to the final bag of pieces. And these primarily are going to be the roof and a gigantic replica hamburger that exists on the roof, I assume as some sort of a promotional, sort of like when your local car dealership may have a giant inflatable character on top of their main building, sometimes holiday related, like a Santa Claus for Christmas or a leprechaun for the release of the latest Leprechaun movie. This McDonald's will have a giant hamburger on top. Trying to figure out, there are various of these rectangular flat yellow pieces, and some of them are different sizes, and I'm trying to make sure I do not use an inappropriate size for the task at hand. Okay, so I think this is the base for our roof. Set that aside and begin construction of the giant hamburger. This is one of the giant buns, and this round black piece goes on the bottom. And then we have this, I guess, sort of a cover-up, cover some of the studs on top of this bun. Your hands exceed anything I could have imagined. Beautiful. Oh, thank you very much. I washed them after I went to the bathroom moments before this live stream. Do you have any travel plans in store for your future investigations? Well, I hesitate to give away any spoilies, but I will say that, as I said earlier, lately my investigation has kept bringing me back to the country of Canada, specifically the province of Ontario. And I believe that this province was a hotbed of McDonald's pizza activity in its heyday. And there certainly is quite a bit of evidence there just waiting to be uncovered. Plus, I have also discovered some information related to McDonald's pizza in a different part of Canada, in the western part of Canada, in a province called British Columbia, Canada. Most famously home to, well, some say mythical. I think that it's actually a real creature, but I'll just say a cryptid named Nardwar. And in the town of Vancouver, BC, Canada, there is a very, very, very interesting lead related to McDonald's pizza that I hope to investigate sometime very soon. So with those two things in mind, I think it's safe to assume that my next trip will take me to the nation of Canada. I'm still working out the logistics of doing so and trying to figure out exactly where my time is best spent. But hopefully I will travel at least to the province of Ontario and continuing on to the province of British Columbia and the great city of Vancouver as well. But we will see. We will see. So I'm now constructing, I guess, the patty of the hamburger. And you will be able to look through, I guess you can see little cracks between the pieces of patty, and you can see some traces of red and green. I think in some cases this might seem like a little bit unfinished, unprofessional, cheap. But in the context of this model, you could just say that those are perhaps, that's a bit of ketchup, and the green is perhaps a bit of lettuce. Use your imagination. And now, I believe these pieces are meant to represent cheese. This is an interesting pattern. I'm very interested to see how this turns out. It's a bit difficult from the instructions to know exactly how to place these pieces, but I believe I'm doing it correctly. This goes like this. Sort of a pinwheel pattern of cheese. Do you keep your priceless McDonald's pizza related artifacts safe from potential theft and or vandalism? Yes, in fact, I do. This building has 24/7 security. I am currently under heavy guard, and they are in fact authorized to use deadly force. So good luck getting in here. So as long as I am housed inside the library tower, which some people call the U.S. Bank building, or the U.S. Bank Tower, my artifacts are perfectly safe. Have you considered taking a sojourn to Oak Brook, Illinois, where you can attend the Exalted Hamburger University? I have, in fact, considered that. I took some steps to do so earlier this year. I ended up having a quite serious accident involving gluing a wig to my head, which was related to that investigation, or that branch of my investigation, I guess you could say. I still have not given up on it. I hope to enroll sometime soon. It's just contingent really upon me obtaining my transcripts from my high school so that I meet the minimum qualifications for admittance to Hamburger University. And considering I did not technically graduate high school because I did not technically go to high school, that might be a problem. But hopefully they will, in lieu of high school diploma or even a GED, they will accept my on-the-job education, which is quite extensive as an investigative journalist. I do believe that many colleges and universities now are not even paying attention to your high school grades, your A's, your B's, your C's, your D's, your F's, etc. And instead just will see how many Twitter followers you have or what your clout score is. So hopefully that will work in my favor. So now I'm placing these pieces, which are meant to represent lettuce. So yeah, so like I said, the green give off the impression of lettuce. Of course, these are two different colors of green. The interior green is a sort of a darker green, and there's a lighter green. And perhaps this is meant to represent lettuce that's in varying state of decay, which is often what you find in an establishment such as a McDonald's. And now the top bun goes on top, and we have a completed giant hamburger to go on top of our building, like such. Like such. Oh, it spins quite rapidly. And that's even without lubrication. Oh, I should warn, if you are prone to epileptic seizures, you may want to look away. Oh, someone says pickles and yes, that makes more sense. The darker green could be pickles and the lighter green could be lettuce instead of lettuce of different levels of decay. Pickles. Yes, that is far more appetizing. I still believe the red is supposed to be catsup, though. Okay, so I believe we are nearly at the end of this construction. Let me turn to the last page of this instruction manual. And yes, this is it. The last thing to do is to place the giant pizza on the roof and the roof itself into the building. And it fits perfectly. And now you have a completed McDonald's restaurant. Absolutely beautiful, perfect in almost every way, except that it's not actually called McDonald's. And one very notable problem is if you look inside, you see hamburger, catsup, espresso / Coca-Cola machine. No pizza. No pizza. Well, I have some news to announce here towards the end of this live stream. And thank you all for watching. Everyone who is watching right now and anyone who watches in the future, I thank you very much for your support and for your time and your attention and for your questions. I do have an announcement, though. As you can see, no pizza here, but let's just say that this is not the end of the story for this particular McDonald's location. Model though it may be, semi-pretend as far as these invisible walls are concerned, though it may be, I believe that I am going to be able to facilitate some small amount of justice by adding a very important item to this McDonald's in the very near future. I have purchased said item from the electronic bay. It is en route to my post office box as we speak. And I think it is something that I know it is something that I am excited about. I think it is something that you will be excited about as well. So look for that very soon, a sequel, as it were, to this live stream where I make some modifications to this McDonald's establishment to bring it more in line with the type of McDonald's establishment that you and I and everyone else in the world who is in their right mind would like to see. Oh, and I guess I should add, see in the picture, the last picture of the instruction book has all of the characters lined up like this. See if I can sort of approximate this tableau. This little boy and Aleister Crowley and Ronald, what is the name of this restaurant? Ronald Happy Every Day. I have perfectly recreated the scene. If I can maybe move the camera a bit lower, approximate the angle better. There you go. Wonderful. Let's see, any more questions? OMG, is that McDonald's? Well, sort of. It is, let's say it's our McDonald's. It is, according to the signage, it's happy every day. But as far as I am concerned, this is sort of a concept model for an ideal McDonald's, and it will become more ideal very soon. Perhaps you can contact this counterfeit Lego company who produces this McDonald's replica. That is actually a very good idea. They make another much, much larger copyright challenged model set that resembles a McDonald's of their own creation, but it's also much more expensive. It's much larger, and it's also much more expensive. It is over $100. Hopefully, the promotion that they receive from this video, or the promotional value that I can convince them that they are receiving from this video, will inspire them to send me this other McDonald's set for free. And we shall see. I will get in touch with them. That is a very good suggestion. Well, thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned in the future for part 2, like I said. Thank you for listening to Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's, or watching Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's on this YouTube page. And I hope you all have a very pleasant evening. And feel free to tuck your children into bed now. I know if you've woke them up to come watch this earlier, I appreciate that. That is good parenting. You actually have fulfilled the corporate motto of the Sembo Block Company, which is facilitate communication between children and parents. But now your job is done. Tuck your children into bed. Kiss them on the head. Hopefully they have sweet dreams about McDonald's pizza. Good night, everyone.